We are back tonight. In this segment, we have no other charge aside from continuing to discuss the breaking news that started us off tonight. The headline from the New York Times is bracing. The FBI opened an inquiry into whether our president was secretly working on behalf of Russia. And a reminder, because we sometimes lose our perspective with the daily barrage of Russia stories, just the mention of this allegation is, of course, a first for the American presidency. We have the very best in the business standing by to continue our conversation. Barbara McQuade, Chuck Rosenberg, and Frank Figliuzzi is with us on the telephone. Barbara, we just learned Mr. Rosenstein planned to stay, according to NBC News reporting, until to in effect see the Mueller investigation and statement through. Do you think anything we've learned today and tonight does anything to jeopardize that trajectory?
I don't think so, unless President Trump panics in some way. You know, we've seen this very strong statement from Sarah Sanders, his spokesperson, calling Comey a political hack and McCabe a chronic liar. And so it seems likely that Rod Rosenstein would want to stay the course. You know, he's been there for about 2 years. I'm sure it feels like 20 for him, and in some ways can't get out soon enough. But I think that he is a loyal steward of the institution of the Justice Department and wants to be there as long as it's within his choice and his power to do so. I think he'll stay unless somehow President Trump wants to fire him before then.
Chuck Rosenberg, does any of this impact Chris Wray's ability to continue to do his job day after day as FBI director?
It really shouldn't, and for some of the same reasons that Barbara just articulated regarding the Deputy Attorney General. Chris Wray is an institutionalist. He's following the rules. By the way, this wasn't opened on his watch, although I'm quite confident, knowing Chris Wray as I do, that if they had the facts and they had the information, he would have done the exact same thing. You know, something you said earlier, Brian, I think is really important, and I want to reiterate it. Given the barrage of daily news, if you just take a moment to think about the fact that the President of the United States had a counterintelligence investigation open to determine whether he is being targeted by a foreign power or whether or not he's an agent of a foreign power. That is absolutely extraordinary. It doesn't tell us what the answer is. We don't know where this will lead. But I cannot imagine, in all of my years on this planet, having a president of the United States being the subject of a counterintelligence investigation.
Frank Figliuzzi, you heard what Chuck said in the previous segment. You heard what Tucker Carlson had to say in the previous segment. It is obvious that some of the backlash will result in the fact that they're going to come after your former colleagues, a lot of the folks you're still in touch with at the FBI. Give us a reality check on morale and how you think they'll fare.
Well, my first response when I saw this reporting was that I just wish it hadn't happened. You know, to be honest with you, and I'm a huge champion of freedom of the press, and this needs to get out, and it's a public service. But I also know that we have a president that is mercurial at best, and I'm concerned that he's going to react in a way to this. We've already seen some communication from the White House tonight that causes him to act out against Special Counsel Mueller and or Rod Rosenstein before it's time, before they've done their job. And that's troubling to me. The other thing we're going to just keep hearing is this notion of deep state, this notion that there's a conspiracy somehow, that there's a rogue FBI or was a rogue FBI. And I think it's important for the American people to understand that counterintelligence and intelligence work in the FBI is by far the most regulated part of the FBI. And there are agents who don't even want to work counterintelligence because you've got to keep the rule book in your top drawer. I lived as a counterintelligence agent with the Attorney General guidelines in the top drawer of my desk and referred to them daily until I've memorized entire portions of them. That's how heavily regulated this is. So any notion that some agent can willy-nilly open a case on the President of the United States is just misguided. The level of review, the Department of Justice review, the number of lawyers that would have touched this and allowed it to happen is almost immeasurable. So I want to try to dispel that notion that there would have to be multiple points of failure, multiple people in a conspiracy to even open this case, and that it's just wholly unrealistic to think that that happened.
We are so grateful to our guest tonight, to Michael Schmidt, of course, for starting us all off, to